Hopefully everybody can hear me. And looks like happy birthday to you, McLovin. Got to thank all of you guys for helping me get to that 1,000 subscribers. Pretty awesome. Couldn't have done it without the RDAP crew. The Federal Prison Time family. FPT family. Hey Chris, what's up, bud? What's up, Juan? John? I'm over here dying, man. This cold has just gotten the best of me, and I do not like feeling sick. I'm like a big baby when I get sick. So you guys have to deal with the coughing a little bit here and there. So again, thank all of you awesome people out there for helping me bust that 1,000 subscriber mark. And obviously want to say thank you to any of you that have served, or if you have family members that have served in the military. Today is a very special day for them, and sometimes it goes a little bit unnoticed and becomes more about barbecues and parties. But salute to you, those of you that have served time. Those of you that are going to serve time, we salute you too. But those of you that have served in the, whether it be Army, Navy, Marine Corps, whatever it is, appreciate you guys. And better you than me. No coffee today, John. No coffee. We got some water. It's like 90 degrees here in Washington today. And yesterday. And I can't enjoy none of the weather because I'm just here stuck and sick. So, as you guys see, we'll jump right into this here. I was hoping if I had this live stream up and running earlier, that by the time 7 o'clock hit, everybody would be on. But it seems like it's about the same pace. There's 7 people joining into the room. So, hopefully everybody will pop in here in a second. Happy Memorial Day to you too, McLovin. So, today we're talking about the possibility when people are cooperating, potentially going to be looking to do a 5K1. Can this backfire and ultimately lead to additional charges like obstruction and getting you in more trouble than you initially may have been in? So as most of you know, a lot of my ideas and the videos and the topics, they come off of conversations that I have with you guys because it's a all-intensive learning process. So the other night, I wasn't feeling good. I went to bed pretty early, and I woke up, and I was starving, thirsty, and I don't normally check my phone in the middle of the night. And I just happened to get up, and I grabbed my phone off the nightstand, and I saw I had a text message from one of the viewers. And it was pretty late because I believe they're on the East Coast, I think. So it's pretty late their time already. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, 2:30 my time. So I'm like, man. And the text message basically was somebody having kind of like an anxiety attack. Like, as a lot of you have had late at night, you've got stuff going through your mind. You can't speak to your attorney. You pretty much can't speak to anybody else. And you got all these rambling thoughts going through your mind. What are you going to do? And there's obviously nothing you can do about it right then and there, right? But those of you that have been through it, you know what it's like. I've been through it, so I know what it's like. So once I woke up and I read this, and I went and got a drink of water, and I actually had a piece of cheesecake. I'm not going to lie. RDAPdan broke his fitness routine and had a piece of cheesecake because I was just craving sugar. With this cold, I've just been doing nothing but sweating in the middle of the night. So just yum, yum, hungry, hungry. So, yum, yum, hungry, hungry. So anyway, so the text message, it really kind of hit me as like, man, I remember what that was like. So I shot a text message back and said, hey, are you still up? And within a couple of seconds, got a response, yes, I am. So I shot him a call and just had a real conversation. I was tired, wasn't in the mood to go in easy and massage. It was just kind of like, this is what it is, and not to go into details because, I don't like talking about people's personal information, but not to go into details, but just to give you guys kind of the scope of the conversation. So basically, you've got somebody that's being indicted, going to be indicted. Maybe you're already under indictment, and the thought of cooperating. Once you've dealt with the reality that you're going to do prison time, right? A lot of us initially, when we first get in trouble, we're in denial. We're not even thinking about cooperating or anything like that because we're like, well, I'm not going to go to prison, so this is a mistake. But once you swallow that pill that you're probably going to do prison time, once you swallow that, the next reality and the next kind of situation you run into is what can you do to start minimizing how much time you're possibly going to spend in prison. And really one of the only things that really helps you in that situation, other than winning at trial, which you don't see happen all the time, is when you start cooperating with the federal government. So when you're cooperating with the federal government, it sounds so black and white. I talk to people about proffers all the time. There's other nicknames for it, Queen for a Day. For those of you that haven't Googled Queen for a Day, Google Queen for a Day proffer and just read the articles. Most of these are real stories about real people and tells you how these proffers backfire. So let's take, for example, let's say you're signing a proffer because you're going to go give them information on other people, and giving this information on other people may also implicate yourself a little deeper than you already were. That's the point of the proffer. So they can't use anything you say against, they can't say anything you say, they can't use it against you later on for bringing additional charges or, at sentencing. It's not supposed to be able to affect you unless you're dishonest, you're manipulating, anything like that. So when you think you can outfox the federal government, you got to be real careful when you go down that rabbit hole, because it can really backfire on you big time. And you might think that, okay, I'm going to sign this proffer. I'm going to tell them what they want to know. But if they don't ask me something specifically, I don't have to give them something. Let's say you know something about Joe Blow. Joe Blow's doing whatever he's doing. He's selling drugs. He's doing this. So you're like, I'm going to tell them that information. But maybe there's additional things that Joe Blow is also doing that you don't want to disclose because for whatever reason. Maybe you're involved in it to some extent, or maybe you don't want to get him in that much trouble, so you're not going to disclose everything. You're going to pick and choose what you disclose. Once you decide to go down that avenue where you're going to talk to the federal government about specific people, you have to give them everything and anything, because telling them just half the story is just as good as lying, and that can very well get you an obstruction charge. Maybe some of you have family members, that are kind of wrapped up in your situation, or maybe, nobody knows they're wrapped up in your situation. Maybe, your brother, your uncle, your mother, your best friend, maybe somehow they've benefited from some of the money that you've made. And even if they didn't benefit from it, like let's say, for example, you were going to buy a house and you couldn't buy the house. You didn't have established credit or, verifiable income. So you needed somebody else to buy the house for you and give it to you as a gift. So you give your brother, some money and say, hey, you've got a business. You're running a business. I'm going to give you some cash. I want you to use this money as a down payment and buy me the house, put it in my name. Even though they have their own business, they don't need the money. You just need them to use that money because it's for you. So you do that. And you do this a couple years back. So now you fast forward, now you're under indictment. They want to know where the house came from. And you prove to them, look, my brother bought this house. He's got a legitimate business and he gave it to me. Now, if it ever comes out that you gave him dirty money from a business, from your own dirty business, and you gave him that money to buy you the house, even though that he wasn't using the money for anything else, just for that one incident, they can now investigate him, and they can probably go in there and start tying up his entire business worth of funds. So that bridge gap showing that you gave him dirty money, if you were ever to bring that up or they were to find out, you would be completely screwed, and so would they, because they'd probably go after that business completely. So you got to be real careful. If you're going to go in there and start proffering, you don't know what questions they're going to ask you till you get there. So you got to make sure, you got to speak to your attorney. You got to say, hey, look, I'm willing to proffer, but I'm not talking about anybody in my family. I don't want to talk about anybody in my family. And if the prosecutor or the investigators have a problem with that, then you might very well know that that's really what they might be after. Then you got to ask yourself, is it still worth it for me to cooperate, or is it worth it for me just to ride this thing out and take whatever it is I'm going to get, whatever my guidelines are? Some of you without any kind of cooperation or 5K1 or proffers or anything like that, you might only be looking at, somewhere from like 40 to 70 months. And I say only like it's no big deal, but you know what I mean? It's if you're looking at, let's say you're looking at 60 months right now, and you're going to go in and get a 5K1 and you're going to try to cooperate, and you're hoping they knock off something, right? They're not going to tell you how much time they're going to take off. So let's say they take off 10, 15 months. Yeah, that's great. It's a year off, but at what cost? What are you risking now? Could you imagine if like somehow during your proffer, some information, you accidentally gave them information about your friend or your brother, whoever you had, they found out that you put that money in their account so they could buy you that house. Now they start investigating them, and all of a sudden now they're going to try to say all the money's dirty, the business is dirty, it's money laundering, and it just built. You might be safe because you've got that proffer, but man, you just open the door on friends and family. So you have to be really careful and know exactly what you're walking into. So it's real important that you have some real intense conversations with your attorney so you know where it is you're about to go. A lot of people get blindsided by just the fact of they think when they do this, when they proffer, and they think when they cooperate, that they're going to get these drastically reduced sentence, cut it in half, cut it by 60%. Typically it's not. There's no guarantee of, typically there's going to be some kind of a reduction, but it's usually not so significant that it would be worth, hurting good people for it. If it's people that's already in your case and you have to like just spell it out a little bit more so they, look, they've already got it. They've already got these people. But if you're giving them additional people they don't have, you really got to remember later on this could weigh on your conscience. Later on, these people are going to know when they finally get indicted and discovery comes out and all that stuff for them. They're going to see this. They're going to see who said what, who told what, to what capacity. So if the feds were not even on their sniffing trail and you put them there, you pretty much kiss those relationships goodbye. And if it's friends or family, there's going to be a lot of animosity and a lot of hurt and a lot of questioning going on there for a long time. So these are things that that it's important that I think people really think through before they just agree blindly, walk in there. And no one's saying don't save your own ass. Now, if you're looking at some kind of a 30, 40, 50 year sentence, if you were to go to trial and lose, or you're being offered this plea, but it requires you to do these things, you're going to make those decisions. I'm not going to say no one's going to judge you, but at the end of the day, you're your own person and you have to do what's important to you. So if you guys are getting ready to possibly get indicted, or you've gotten indicted and you're thinking about doing a 5K1 and you want to cooperate and you're not sure what questions to ask, and you're not really sure what's involved, I highly suggest you give me a call. Whether you call me, my phone number's on the screen. You can email me, my email's on the screen. You can send me a message through Facebook. I can definitely give you some questions that you can bring back to your attorney. It may get your attorney a little aggravated because it's going to really put in those questions that everybody tries to avoid. Just know what you're walking into. Do not go in blind, guys. That's the worst thing, because once you've done it, you've done it. There's no undoing it. So I hope everybody's having an amazing Memorial Day. I don't know if you guys are out barbecuing. I'm sure the channel's going to be a little light tonight. Everybody's probably out doing stuff with their family. I saw a comment in here earlier. Somebody was, talking about Joe on his channel, saying that he's using Dave, his buddy Dave, got sent to jail, so he's using Dave for donations. And I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. I've been having some conversations with Joe outside of YouTube, like on the phone and stuff. And it sounds like the money that he's been getting for donations for Dave have been going to Dave. It's been going to help Dave with bills that he needs to keep paid while he's locked up in there, helping him with his commissary. So I'm pretty sure him and Joe, or Dave and Joe, have some kind of an agreement worked out. So I wouldn't jump to conclusions that somebody's necessarily being taken care of. But, stuff like that does happen all the time. So thank you guys for, what are we at? We're at like 1,020 or 1,030 or something like that subscribers. We're cruising now. We're moving right along. Before you know it, we're going to be at 10,000, then 100,000, then, RDAPdan. So I got some shirts getting made, guys. I got like 4 different concepts that are being created. I've got some t-shirts. I've got some hoodies. I've got some like polo shirts. So you have shirts for the gym. You got some hoodies if you want to stay warm. You've got polo shirts if you want to look, dress up a little bit. Maybe you're going to go to an interview, or you're going to, they're mostly for me. Of course, if you guys see them and you guys want them, I'd be gladly to send some out to you guys, or maybe we'll send some out to some clients. So yeah, I still feel like absolute dog poo. Oh, so the cool things about hitting that 1,000 subscribers. So I can do the live stream from my phone now. I tested it the other day. I didn't do it live. I did it private, so nobody else could really see it. Yes, I am. I have to wait for Todd to add me, but I actually saw Joe do that with Dave. That's probably why you're asking. So yeah, I will get Todd on there one day, and we'll do a little live session with Todd. I figure let's let him get like a good 3 or 4 weeks in, so he can kind of be into his routine, so he can really kind of tell you guys what's going on and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm definitely going to shoot for that. I'm glad you brought that up, John. That's something that as soon as I saw Joe do it on his channel, I was like, I'm stealing that idea because it's amazing. So yeah, so I can do the live shows on my phone, which I think is really cool. And now it gave me it put a donate button, not a donate button, but like down by where you write your text, there's like a little money symbol down there. So it allows people to submit donations if they want, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know why you have to have 1,000 subscribers for that, but I guess they want to make sure people don't abuse it. So I thought that was cool. So just so you guys know, we're going to start not today or anything. I mean, if you want to, you can, of course, but we're going to start a donation pool, because there's people out there that need the services that are not able to afford it. I get the calls all the time, and there's just real limited stuff I can do for them, because the stuff that people pay for, the difference between like a free client and a paid client is they still get the coaching and the conversation, but the services that need to get done, that costs me money, so I have to get that covered. But being able to accept donations and stuff now, so those of you that want to give back, or you're grateful for being able to subscribe to this and being able to get this kind of content, because we all know this kind of content wasn't out there before. And I just happened to be the person that got lucky enough to take it for what it was and run with it. And I got a thing from YouTube telling me we wanted to recognize you as, not that I'm sure they do this for every niche market. I'm pretty much the only one out there, but YouTube recognized me as YouTube's largest prison consultant. So that's like a name that a title that I think is really cool, because there are other prison consultants on YouTube, and these guys have been around longer than me, and I've been recognized as the largest prison consulting YouTuber. So to me, that's really cool. So anybody, if you guys want to help other people, we'll create a way so that can be tracked, so you guys will know where, whatever funds you're giving, where it's going, how it's being distributed, who it's going to help, or if the person wants to stay anonymous, that's getting help. Not everybody wants to blast out their information out there. But those of you that do allow me to share your information and share your stories, and most of you, I'll share your story, I just won't share the specifics and the personal information that would out you guys. But some of your stuff that we talk about, it's so imperative for other people to talk about it that we just have to talk about it as in third person. But you guys have been amazing, and it's scary to see. It's scary to see how many people can really get screwed up when they're trying to go in and cooperate just by leaving out information. And what it is you get kind of slick in your mind. You think, well, they probably don't know about this, so if I don't bring this up, they're never going to know about it. The thing you have to assume is the government knows about all of this stuff. You have to assume that the questions they're asking you, they probably know about. And if you do give them some information and it's either misleading or it's not full, and then they talk to somebody else and they get other pieces of the information that you didn't give them, it doesn't make you look good. It makes them not want to work with you. They can take away whatever cooperation they were going to give you, and they can give you an obstruction charge. It is not hard for them to tie you to an obstruction charge. They do it all the time. I've seen it happen to a few people now. Some people didn't get hurt as bad as others. Some people have gotten hammered. In the end, Todd still got affected from his, because he was probably only originally looking at like a 5 to a 7 year plea. And then with everything else, when Todd did that, when Todd gave that obstruction charge, when he got that obstruction charge for not even lying, he wasn't necessarily lying. He was just kind of leaving out information during his testimony. Completely screwed him. Juan, when you say what did Todd get tripped up on, do you mean for his obstruction or his actual crime? God, I feel like complete crap whenever I stay up for longer than 30 or 40 minutes and not laying down or... Kimberly, thank you. Appreciate that. What's up, Johnny? Who else we got in the room here? We got a light crew tonight. Are you guys barbecuing? You guys are already probably all barbecued out. It's late where everybody else is. Hey, Matt's Ma. Tell about obstruction. Obstruction is just, obstruction can come in so many different ways, but a lot of the times the way you'll see obstruction is specifically when you're trying to cooperate or trying to work with the government and you start giving them either misleading information, or you're not giving them all of the information, or you're flat out lying to them, trying to, get them looking in one direction because you don't want them to focus on something else. Once someone decides to cooperate, that means, man, you cannot think that you can beat them. You can't get witty. You can't try to be the fox. You got to realize they are the fox. The federal government is massive. They've got reach to everywhere. They've got ears everywhere when they start interviewing. And we all know what happens if they start interviewing additional people. When Todd, really the only thing Todd left out, Juan Carlos, and it wasn't even anything serious, it had nothing to do with his crime. When he was talking about his education, his background and his education, he gave a little bit of fake detail about types of schools he went to and types of degrees that he had received. Had nothing to do with his crime. They're like, well, what'd you go to school for? And he had falsified some degrees years ago to help him get a job that he no longer even had nothing to do with the situation. And when they found out that he didn't really have those degrees, they fucking filleted him. All the other information they gave him, they didn't want nothing to do with it. They wouldn't give him the proffer. It was just, man. It was really scary to see that, because it really was an irrelevant question. It had nothing to do with the crime, nothing to do with what they were trying to do, had nothing to do with anything. And it was just a piece of information that he gave that wasn't accurate and wasn't honest, but it had nothing to do with anything about the crime. And they flipped it around and gave an obstruction charge. And then he was looking at 30 years. Went from looking at a 5 to 7 year plea to 30 years to taking a plea deal for 17 and a half. And then luckily with all the other hard work and effort that he put in at the time of sentencing, only got 9. But that just goes to show you how quick the rug can be yanked out from underneath you. And Todd is the type of guy that always felt like he's kind of got it together. He's in control. He kind of manhandles the conversations and the direction it was going to go in, and the leader type. It doesn't work like that with the feds. When you guys go in there and you decide you're going to cooperate, the best thing you can do is let them know you're terrified. If you go in there, all like head high and confident and just like, yeah, I got this, you're not showing them that you're afraid. And we have to assume that a lot of people, when it comes to prosecutors, DEA, we all know that a lot of these guys aren't necessarily, they're making good money, but there's nothing else that they could be doing to make more money. You know what I mean? So they're like, they've got to bust their ass. So they may not be making millions of dollars. So what they do have is power. They've got power, and they assert that power over you. They like to make you feel less than, weak than. So when you come in there and maybe, you're a big shot, white collar criminal and you've had tons of money, and they the way they see it is you didn't earn it and you're not afraid of them, you're pissing them off. They're just looking, they want you terrified. So even if you're not terrified, you need to go in there with that impression that, hey, this is your guys' domain. I'm just here to cooperate and get whatever kind of little nut you're going to give me. And, you got to be in that terrified mode, because if you're not, then they're thinking that, this is no big deal for you, and they're going to hammer you a little bit harder, or at least try to pick on you a little bit more and dig at you. Make it easier on yourself. Don't have a pissing battle with them. Unless you're trying to go to trial, don't have a pissing battle with them. Just let them have that victory in their mind and move on. Kristen, Todd was a client who's been in the room for quite a while, who just self-surrendered about a week and almost 2 weeks ago now. If you look at some of the past videos, there's videos on there like you'll see the other guy that we were talking about on how much his sentence is going to be, and look at any of the videos I got that are labeled Todd. That's who Todd is. He was a client who's been with us for a while, and we just got to watch his story kind of from start to finish. But obstruction is something that you could fall into real easy. If you're the type of person that is, always thinking you've got it figured out and you're used to like getting your way and you're a fast talker, obstruction could be in your near future. Put it that way. You've got to really let your ego go. You've got to let control go of what you don't have control over. You're not going to out control these guys. It just doesn't happen. No, he didn't. No, that day he didn't know, Juan. It was later on when they were interviewing other people, or they were doing some more searching, and they came to find out. I'm not sure how long it took, but I want to say it was several weeks later, if not maybe a couple of months later, when that came out and just turned his world upside down. Turned his world upside down. That's right around when I first met him. When that happened, that's pretty much when I met him. He had hired another prison consultant by the name of Justin. And, paid Justin, big money, 10 grand, and just didn't feel he was getting what he needed from Justin. Justin wasn't really returning his phone calls, he was more or less just telling him, he was kind of frustrated. Every time Todd would call, it was more of like a frustration. Like, I've got videos on this. Go watch my videos. Like, they're always trying to get him off the phone, So he looked around, went online, found me, called me. We had a couple of good conversations, and from there it was history. Todd was tapped. He had no more funds left. They'd pretty much taken everything. What he did have, he gave 10 grand to Justin, 5 grand to Michael Santos. Paid me literally a couple bucks, like nowhere near that, a tenth of what he gave those guys. But Todd became a great client, and also a relationship developed there because I spoke to him so much, with just like so many of you. A lot of our conversations, it's not just, client consultant. It's, we engage, we talk. I tell you things the way I would tell my best friend. The guy that called me the other night, 2 a.m. I told him, out of all the clients I got, you're my biggest loose cannon. You were like, if I had to name a loose cannon, if I had to give somebody the loose cannon award, buddy, you got the loose cannon award, just because so many times when we have conversations, I can hear it in your voice that yeah, you're going through the channels because you have to, but at the same time, you're really like looking for something out of the norm that can get you out of this, whether it be, calling different attorneys or, trying to come up with little sneaky ways around. And in the end, it's, all that effort you're spending on that, you could be spending that effort on things that are gonna actually make a difference. And sometimes you can tell people that till they're blue in the face and they don't hear it. But then sometimes at the right moment, and I felt like during that conversation, he was desperate, not desperate like desperate in a bad way, but desperate for needing to hear somebody, needing to talk to somebody, because we all know you're not going to call somebody or text somebody at 2 a.m. unless it's serious. So when I see something like that at 2 a.m, I realize, okay, this is serious. So we're going to have a serious conversation. So I felt like this is the right time to tell him he's a loose cannon. And halfway through the conversation, it came back to that. What did you mean when you called me the loose cannon? So I know it stuck because he remembered it, and it carried on with him. And maybe after that call, I thought about it a little bit. It's all about planting seeds, guys. All the relationships that I build with my clients, some of them sprout right away. Some of them, like, man, you needed like no water at all, and you grew. Other clients need water, need massaging. But it all comes down to tough love, and you guys just you've got to be able to swallow this information and realize that there's probably no way out of it. Probably none. You may have heard stories about other people that made it to other countries and this and that, but for the most part, it's not, this isn't a movie. You're not going to get on a boat. You're not going to disappear. And really, it's not that serious, right? The amount of time a lot of you guys are looking at, it's not worth disappearing for. So we try to deal with that the best way we can. And I got to make sure I don't push people away. So I have to wait for the right moment to let them have it. And there's plenty of you that Chris will tell you, back in the day when Chris and I used to have conversations, me and Chris, I'd tell him, stop. I'd yell at him. You're fucking you can't act like this, man. You cannot be like this. Stop being such a nervous wreck. And boom, then he would get out of it, and he would call me, and he was calling me a lot lately, so I haven't heard from you in a while, Chris. How did you get out of a minimum mandatory? How did I get out of a minimum mandatory? Chris, are you asking me how I got out of it? Hey, Jay Tabor, good buddy. Thanks for asking. Things are going all right. I'm still under the weather, but yeah, that's pretty much. That sounds like something I would say. Get your head out of your ass. A lot of people, because you know what it is I remember where my head was. My head was either in the sand or up my ass when I was going through this. I was in such disbelief that I really felt like sometimes if I just pretended like it's not going on, it was going to go away. And it's like when you're a little kid, you close your eyes really tight and nobody can see you. Just doesn't work. It just doesn't work, guys. It does not work. But, big things are coming for everybody. We're working on some reentry programs right now that are going to help people that are getting released with getting jobs. A lot of you have a lot of people asking me about getting into the logistics of truck driving, not so much the driving the truck, but the logistics side of it, where you're like a broker, where you're pairing the driver with the supplier and you're putting that together. There's really good money in that, and there's plenty of possibility for people with felons, with criminal histories. So we're putting together some really unique things that are going to give you guys something to look forward to. Even if you end up getting out and you find your dream job on your own, it's going to give you some peace of mind to allow you to know while you're going into prison that, hey, look, there is life after prison, right? There is life after prison. You just got to work for it. But knowing that it's out there should lower some of that anxiety right now, so you don't have to deal with extra anxiety that's unnecessary. So everything we do is based on reducing anxiety. Reducing anxiety, building the opportunity to serve a lesser sentence, building the opportunity to serve time the way you want to serve time, being able to improve, being able to get to a prison you want to go to, being able to take advantage of RDAP, being able to get additional halfway house time. We're helping some clients right now that they need to redesignate from one halfway house to another. One's closer to home than the other, and for some reason they get designated to a halfway house that's 90 miles away from home instead of the one that's 5 or 10 minutes away from home, and it makes zero sense. It's so frustrating because it makes zero sense. Now, if you're a public safety factor or there's a reason, that's one thing, but when there's no reason, it's like, why are you going to send somebody 100 miles away from home? How are they supposed to get a job? They're going to get a job, tell their employer, I'm going to work here 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, then I have to quit because I'm moving. It's going to be hard for an employer to want to employ you. It's going to be hard for you to get mentally prepared to go out and find a job when there's plenty of bed space at the halfway house 10, 15 minutes away from where you live. It makes no sense when you're basing the whole purpose of going to a halfway house is to reintegrate you back into society, but yet they're going to add these additional unnecessary hurdles to make your life that much more frustrating. So we've got to rise up and make sure that we do what we can as federal prison time with RDAPdan. what we do with our crew and our staff, that's one more service that we're going to build into our artillery, because I'm finding out more and more that that's something that happens more frequently than not. And I'm really, really surprised about that. I thought you said 32 months was your getting on a plea. Oh, you're talking to Johnny. Gotcha, bud. Okay. Gotcha. John Gioff, what is safety valve? Safety valve is basically if you don't have a leadership role, if there's no violence. I got to look at the stipulations on what other crimes can, and usually if you're in a crime by yourself, I'm not sure that safety valve can apply. Safety valve, like if you have a minimum mandatory, if you qualify for a safety valve can reduce your minimum mandatory. So let's say you're part of a conspiracy that, a drug conspiracy that carries a 5-year minimum, but you're kind of a low guy in the totem pole. You weren't the business owner. You weren't running shit. You weren't making decisions. You were just, whatever. You were just there. You got caught up in the conspiracy. You're on the phone. That safety valve, for you cooperating, they can offer you a safety valve that will give you the ability to allow the judge to sentence you under the minimum mandatory. But not everybody can qualify for that, unfortunately. I didn't need it because I didn't have a minimum mandatory, but I also didn't qualify for it because they considered me being a leadership role, so that took me out of the qualifications. Not that it meant anything. I saw some videos of Big Herc. I think he is a prison consultant as well, right? But he's literally hates snitches. Big Herc is not a prison consultant, at least as far as I'm concerned. He might give some information and some insight to what goes on in prison, but he doesn't spend his time on his videos helping people prepare. And yeah, he claims to hate snitches and all this other stuff, and who knows. And look, if you watch his first video to all the way to where he is now, and with the crime that he did, look, if he's telling the truth and what really took place, he's in a shootout, shooting at cops from a botched bank robbery that went bad, and he only served 10 years. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say because I don't know for sure, but that sounds like some cooperation to me, some 5K1. There's a lot of guys out there that when they go to mediums and pens, I found out they have professional PSIs made, fake ones, that they can use to show guys on the yard, hoping the guys don't actually ever go check it. So they get these fake PSRs sent in, and to try to help them stay safe on the yard, whether they be sex offenders, snitches, whatever it is, and to each their own. I'm not sitting here advocating saying, oh, be a snitch. But at the same time, if you're being faced with a ridiculous amount of time, it's one thing to say, okay, right now without telling, just in the situation I'm in, I'm looking at 5 years max. Then to say, okay, 5K1 and everything else. The thing is with all of the cooperation that you might need to do, usually the reduction in time is not that much. It's not. I was facing 15 to 20 years because of where I pointed out on my base offense level was 38 after reductions, after 5K1, after acceptance of responsibility. It was like a level 38. So if I hadn't worked with them and I was to get sentenced based on my guidelines, I would have been up there 15, 20 years. I would have been up right along the doctor that got his ass handed to him. And John, just so you know, Herc didn't go to the state. Herc went to the feds. He was in the federal pen, not state. But look, everybody's got their content, right? And they've got their value, and you just watch it for what it is. Big Herc and some other guys out there, their content is informational for entertainment purposes. If you look at a lot of the viewers and most people that are watching those videos, most of those guys aren't facing time. Some of those guys have been down. Some of those guys have done some little state bids here and there, some county time, just kind of living that lifestyle, kind of glorifying that lifestyle. That's the thing is you don't want to glorify the lifestyle. You don't want to glorify what it is that you did to get you to go to prison. I would rather be known as the idiot criminal, the stupid criminal, the guy that shouldn't be a criminal because he's not very good at it, than, oh yeah, we knew you as, G-Dog on the street or something like that. I don't want to have a prison street nickname. I'll stick with rdapdan and let the haters hate. And they come out, the haters poke their heads out from time to time. I'll get some random messages or random Facebook messages, and but I appreciate it all. I take it all. It's all love to me. When I see those subscriptions going up on YouTube, and I watch my YouTube subscription like I'm watching the stock market. Literally. Those of you, do you guys remember me talking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, any of that stuff? Do you guys remember me mentioning any of that at all? It's still not too late for you guys. There's one out there called Ethereum. You can just look it up by ETH. If you look up ETH cryptocurrency, ETH, it's still not too late. It's like a couple $100 now per. God, it's hard to explain. It's like a couple $100. It's like $160 or $180 now per coin. I bought them when they were at $11, and I bought a few of them, and it's been a real for those of you here. Look at it this way. For those of you that are getting ready to go into prison, and you're worried about what it is you're going to do when you get out, you're worried about what you're going to do for finances, and maybe you got a couple $100, maybe you got several $1,000s that you could do something with right now. I'm telling you, if you have the ability, I'm not giving you advice. I'm not I'm not a trader. I don't have any kind of license to invest, but I'm telling you, if I were you, I would put that money into Ethereum and just let it sit, and it is going to do the same. Like right now, Bitcoin is like $2,000 per coin. You could get into Ethereum, and when it gets up there with Bitcoin if you put a couple grand into it right now, you might be looking at a very, very decent payout on that when you guys get released from prison. Just saying. I know, John, I thought the same thing about Big Herc, but when you start watching him and his mannerisms, I think a lot of that's bullshit. I don't really think he's never been in trouble before as a kid. He wasn't in and out of the prison system, He fucked up one time and got hammered for it. Sounds like he grew up in a really nice family, grew up going to school, getting good grades, good family, wasn't in the hood, and he was attracted to that lifestyle and was not good at it either, and got slammed his first go at it, and that's what happened, but his niche is, he tries to act that part. And when you watch his other videos on Facebook and stuff, I think it's an act. I don't think that's really him at all, because I thought he was state too. But that's just my take on that. But yeah, so if you guys are looking for something to do between now and getting out of prison, and you're hoping you can make some money, for those of you that are interested in it, you can definitely text me, and I'll be happy to tell you much more about it. Invest in Ethereum or Litecoin. Litecoin is a good option too. I've actually invested a little bit into Litecoin because it's still really, really cheap. The thing is with Ethereum, what Ethereum's going to be doing in the near future is some big stuff. Microsoft is getting behind it. There's a bunch of they're going to be using it for the purpose of saving time and money on how big banks transfer funds as far as in the world of banking. So banks are going to be getting behind Ethereum. They've already started to. There's been tons of press releases on it. So it's not just speculation. It's not just hearsay. It's not, maybe if it's happening. It's cheaper to produce than Bitcoin is. So it's definitely going to surpass Bitcoin at some point. It's just a matter of when. Litecoin is also looking very, very promising. But Ethereum is just on a march right now. Like Ethereum is in action. It's gone from $11 up to almost $200 just in the last 2.5-3 months. So it is literally flying, and the market never closes on that. So it's open 24/7. So you'll see fluctuation up and down. Then you'll see this giant march forward, and then it will kind of level out, and then another giant march forward. So grab what you can. Take a look at it. Most people don't. Most people hear this and they never look at it. They never think twice. And then when it happens, like, I wish I had done something. Throw something in there that you don't care if you lose. For some people, a couple $100 doesn't change their life. For other people, a couple $1,000 doesn't change their life. If you got it, check it out. And if you're interested in knowing more about it, and you want to call me and talk about it, I have no invested interest in it, other than the more people that get into it, price drives the price up. But other than that, I think it's amazing. And I hope people that are watching this have the ability to take something from it and have something to look forward to when they get out of prison. That's my main reason for telling you guys about it. But looking at it now, there you go. Some of you, I love that some of you check out stuff that I talk about. It's really cool. Because it's, how hard is it to look something up? In today's day, we've got internet and so many different ways to backtrack and check stuff out. It's just pretty cool. What else we got going on here, guys? Other than that, still just trying to get through this cold. We're gonna do some. I'm probably gonna make sure I have some pre-recorded videos for you guys for like on a day if I'm sick or I'm just really not feeling well or I need to do something. I can at least have a video run during that time slot to make sure that I don't leave you guys hanging. I felt really bad leaving you guys hanging on Saturday, but man, I was on my deathbed. It would have been a horrible video, almost as bad as this one. And with that, we can wrap this up here. I really just wanted to touch a little bit tonight on those of you that are going to be thinking about cooperating. Just really know what that means. Don't fall into the trap. And the trap is usually created by yourself. It's not them setting a trap. The other big purpose for when they do a proffer in cooperation and where they have all these meetings with you is they really want to see your demeanor. They want to see how you speak. They want to see how you react. They're watching you for all kinds of reasons. How would he be if we went to trial? How would he be if we put him on the stand? Is he going to be able to handle pressure? Is he going to be able to be direct? These are things that they look for. And that's one of the reasons why they give the proffer, because they're hoping under the proffer you're going to feel comfortable and relaxed enough to just let it out and say what's real. And if you do the right thing, proffers can be good. There's attorneys like the guy I spoke to the other night. He's got two attorneys, and one attorney's like all for proffering. The other attorney's kind of like, it's never a good idea. You never know what's going to be said. And he's flying on the side of caution because he knows that people can screw up and withhold, give the wrong information. So it's just real important that whatever you're willing to talk about, you've got to be willing to talk about it 100%. You can't be willing to talk about, you can't be willing to talk about a little bit about somebody without talking about everything. So if there's something you don't want to talk about a specific person, tell them before you even start, these are the things that I'm not willing to talk about. And they got to be okay with that. If they're not, then you got to figure out what your next move is. Everybody give Johnny a little shout out there. He's looking for some good info to come back. All right, guys. I'm going to roll out of here and go wash the goop out of my hair and wash the makeup off of my face and go lay down and try to get better. So hopefully by Wednesday, I'll have this thing knocked out of my head. Again, I appreciate you guys. And I know I said we're going to do something really awesome once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and we still are. I got to get better. But as soon as I do, we're gonna find some way to really have, maybe we'll do a live feed from somewhere really cool. Like maybe we'll go do it at like the federal courthouse or something, or maybe we'll interview somebody that's really, really cool and have something neat to talk about. Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate it. But anyway, you guys have been awesome. Thanks, John. One day at a time, guys. Just remember, if you're getting ready to get indicted, if you need somebody to talk to, you don't know what's going to come next. You're afraid of what might be happening when you're going to go to prison, or how can you deter and how can you get into programs like RDAP and Additional Halfway House and all of these things. All you have to do is call the number on the screen, 509-434-4695. And if you also text the word YouTube to 35074, text the word YouTube to 35074, it puts you on a list to receive automatic notifications when the videos are getting ready to stream, or any other videos that might be going out. So do yourself a favor, put yourself on that list. You'll never miss a notification for a video. If YouTube doesn't notify you, you'll get it by your text message. So it really kind of keeps it clean that way. Other than that, make sure you guys subscribe, like, share. You guys are amazing. I couldn't be doing this without you guys. YouTube's largest prison consultant. That's awesome. It's a great title. I should get a plaque or something. Until Wednesday, guys, hope you guys have an awesome week. Go enjoy the rest of your holiday. And tomorrow, the real world kicks back in. We all got to get to work. So any of you that have any questions, or I'm waiting on anything from you, or you're waiting on anything from me, feel free to text me tonight or tomorrow, and I'll get back to you then. Love every single one of you. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time. Talk to you soon. Peace.